guys, so today I'm here with a lot of rumors about what we might be seeing next month at the Apple iPod event. Now, in case you didn't know, every September, usually around the 1st to the middle of September, Apple announces a whole slew of new iPods, as well as sometimes some new Macs and stuff, but generally it is very much focused on the iPods. So this year, it looks like we're actually going to be a pretty substantial deal, as thanks to iLounge and their sources, and generally they've been pretty credible, there's actually going to be a really big update this year. So I'll start with what is probably the biggest, and it is the iPad mini, or the iPad micro, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a 7-inch version of the current iPad. Now this one we have very few specs on or anything like that. However, we've heard about a 7-inch tablet or something roughly about that size for a very long time, predating well before the original iPad came out earlier this year. So I would not be surprised at all if we do see an iPad. It could be out in September. I'm not entirely sure about this though, guys, just because the iPad is selling so huge that I doubt that they will be even able to, keep the iPad, the standard iPad in stock. So to add another iPad that will probably sell it even faster, I'm just not sure about that. However, it is pretty possible. Now, some people have said that it might have the Retina display or something similar with a really high-resolution display. However, I really doubt this, as while it's one thing to have, a 3.5-inch on an iPhone, it's an entirely different deal to have, the display of Apple's $1,000, monitor onto a 7-inch screen and try to get it in at, anything less than thousands and thousands of dollars. Just a ridiculous price. So I would expect it would probably stay fairly much the same as the standard iPad. It very well might have a front-facing camera, and maybe just a slightly cheaper price. But other than that, it's probably going to be about the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the iPods. So, according to iLounge, we will see 3 redesigned iPods this year. The iPod Shuffle, the iPod Nano, and of course the iPod Touch. So let's go ahead and just start with the Shuffle. So, according to them, that actually will probably be renamed to something else, maybe like the iPod Nano Shuffle Touch. I've got no idea, but it will be probably renamed, and actually will be given a 1.7-inch touchscreen, the one we saw earlier in the year. Now, actually, I have no trouble believing this. I've been on record several times as saying that the iPod Shuffle is about as small as it can get. I mean, they've removed everything. There's really not a whole lot more. I mean, if it gets any smaller, people would just be losing it way too easily. So I think it's about time it actually gets a little bit bigger, and having a very small touchscreen, maybe only with one button or 2 buttons on the screen at a time. A very simple interface. I think that would be fantastic. Now, they said that actually the iPod Nano also might be getting a touchscreen. Now, they said something about they've got Apple's ordering some 3-inch touchscreens, which, if you didn't know, the iPod Touch as well as the iPhone have a 3.5-inch. So maybe a smaller version of the iPod Nano actually might evolve into maybe like a smaller version of the iPod Touch. I'm not so sure about this. I do think that the iPod Nano will eventually get a touchscreen, and go ahead and move over to iOS. But I don't think it's going to be quite this year. I think it might be, in a year or two, once, the current iPod design really just starts to get old. But of course, who knows? We actually might be seeing a really substantial upgrade to the iPod Nano this year. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and just talk really briefly about the iPod Touch. Now, if you want to know more about this, I'll go ahead and check out the link on the screen right now. I've already done a full video discussing all about what I expect to see in the iPod Touch 4th generation. So, guys, there really is nothing new about that right now. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to share these rumors with you. I really, as always with rumors, you really have to take them with a grain of salt. I'm not so sure about a lot of them. I think that the iPad definitely makes sense. I think that having a smaller iPad would be really good, especially with the front-facing camera. As far as the iPod Shuffle, I have no problems believing that. I pretty much expect that. I would be pretty surprised if they don't, do something with the iPod Shuffle. The Nano, who knows? And of course, the iPod Touch should get a pretty substantial redesign. Definitely let me know in the comments below. I'm definitely curious to know. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching.